What's going on, y'all? It's J Smo Reviews here, back at it again with another video. As promised to you guys, I put up a little poll on Twitter, you know what I'm saying, talking about the Redemption 2 battles and saying that I would cover the top two voted. Obviously, for those of you that watched yesterday, I did Shotgun Suge versus Kid Slade review. Check that one out. In my opinion, that was battle of the night. And the battle that came in second place was Chef Trez versus John, which, as you guys can see, is what we are going to be reviewing today. Main event, which is really because of the Atlanta-based implications in this. Home game for Trez, pseudo home game for John. Although some of you, which I will go over later in the video, know my theory about John in Atlanta. But definitely a good battle, a battle that, from what was reported in the building, is definitely closer on camera. There's a lot to break down here. I think that this was a humongous moment for Chef Trez, where I think he actually rose to the occasion at that. And it's John's return, and the result of this battle could determine how we might see John booked for his next few. So a lot of things to break down from this. Not surprised he got voted up. A lot of interesting things to talk about. And without further ado, let's get right into breaking down the battle. So to start off, we go on Chef Trez, and something I'm going to comment on Chef's first, but I'm going to comment on a lot of the rounds both ways, is they all kind of opened slow. I think part of that is going last, just a lack of energy in the building. It's hard for the crowd to just pick up immediately, but Chef Trez starts off his Capital One bar to open, which was decent. And a couple bars really for the first half of his first that are they're solid, and we'll talk about them, but they didn't necessarily land crazy for me. He had an angle punch talking about how Torque beat John in ATL, talking about New Jersey throwback classics. Thought that was a decent flip. Gun hitting over and under is a parlay. Actually really like that. That was one of the more clever lines from the beginning of his first. And then he has a couple basketball bars, which for me was kind of a dry spot. Nothing too crazy, just John flips, nothing special, nothing that creative. So a little mini dry spot. And then he gets into working an angle, which was kind of going to be a point of emphasis. We knew Trez, this was going to be more of a dialogue-based battle with them having history. And Trez isn't really known for executing angles, so how was he going to do it? In the first round, he didn't, butcher it, but I thought it was okay. He had the bullpen angle, somebody to put ink in the pen. History didn't write itself. I thought that was probably the best thing that he landed out of working the angle. But then after he had how am I going to make it out the bullpen, when he wasn't making the right pitch, talking about how John wasn't pitching Trez to URL properly. So not a bad working of the angle, but just cool to me. But for his sake, he does go on this, the second half of his first, he does go on a bit of a run here. He talks about the hollow and John fight. You put a hollow through a mirror. Well, these hollows are going through mirrors, doors, and windshields. Even though it's an angle, it's been worked a lot. I really like that flip on it. I come from a strip of bloods like a diabetic. That was fire. Follows that up with the biometrics bar, which I thought was good too. And then to end out his round, he says he was scared of Ace. He had the Joker, deuce. And that probably was his best bar of the first round. So Kid's a little clip of about 3 haymakers and a good bar there to end the first, making it a respectable round. Started out pretty slow, but I thought ends up being pretty respectable. And then you go to John, similar to Trez. I thought he had a slow open, really even more of a slow open. Just kind of talking to Trez, a couple bars that just land as silent jabs. And then eventually you get to his first bar, I think that really scores with the talk to the chef bar, which we've heard now I got to talk to the chef. We've heard a couple types of flips like that, but I thought it was decent. But the poor part for me is John immediately going to the crowd, talking about, y'all don't got to react. Y'all don't got to react. He's done it in a few battles. I know it's to counteract a crowd that isn't all the way with you, but doing that 8 to 12 bars in, already kind of throwing sass at the crowd, I don't think that's a good look. I thought that similar to Trez, you both had a first dry opening. So to get on the crowd when you just haven't really hit the best part of your round, it just sets you up for failure as you go on in the battle. He has a shot at easy. It's like an easy do bar, Hurricane do reference. It was okay. I didn't think it was that crazy. He definitely hits a little clip here towards the end of his first. Can't trust them Forex guys because day traders. I like that. Hogwarts Legacy with a stick. I lift shit. Wingardium Leviosa. Everybody in this community says I look like Harry Potter. So I definitely like that bar. But it was definitely decent. Hits a haymaker with the bump, the Ace on Mean bump, pardon the friendly shoulder. Definitely needed the reaction. And I don't mind, the performance aspect, a little bump, get the crowd on your side. So I thought that was good. And then towards the end of his round, he lands a Salt Bay bar, which is decent, and Anthony Bourdain bar, which I also thought was decent. But for the most part, his first, there's not a lot of heavy hitters. There's just a lot of decent. I don't think Trez just washed him in this round, but I do have Trez pretty clearly up 1-0 after the first. So from there, we can get into the second round, and the second round for me is probably the best round of the battle, back and forth, and contains the best round of the battle, which to me is Chef Trez's second. Starts out with a rebuttal to the stock bars from John. Mentioning Weeble, it was a Weeble Robin Hood bar, talking about all the stock websites. I like that. I thought that was like a solid rebuttal. Also has the rebuttal about religion. Talk about the brimstone in the Bible, it was the brimstone in the Quran. I think the blood of Jesus in the Bible. So little flip on him being a blood, and which would John had mentioned, and the religious aspect. So I thought that was not crazy rebuttals. I don't think at any point Chef really had like a crazy haymaker rebuttal, but I thought those two were solid to start his second. From there, he gets into a Miami Heat scheme. Once again, it goes to the basketball bars. Not exactly the biggest fan of when he got into those little bags. Red dot, red beam tracing. I'm tracing on his face. I'm tracing freckles. I thought that was solid. And then he picks up a little earlier than he did in his first. And I think this is the difference. Surf body you so bad. Your name might be on his case. That hit crazy in the building. Definitely fire. Take JJ's chicken and give him wings. A little bit of hometown cooking with that one, obviously, in ATL, but I did think that it was a good bar. Hard to use all those knock off your glasses. Hard to use all those cool Call of Duty guns without active vision. Thought that was pretty creative too. I like that. He has a Ramadan flip, which I have heard a lot of out. Ramadan. I'm not exactly the biggest fan of that wordplay, but the second half, so I hit a star with a half moon. Brings it together pretty creatively. So like I said, even though there's little flashes, I'm saying, I'm not going to act like I haven't heard the Ramadan part before, but I do think the second half of it, referring to the flag is dope. So definitely a fan of that. More begging for his life, more pleased than YSL. Just, hitting at a consistent rate here. It's not super haymakers, but he's just landing good line after good line. Has an easy E line. No, love you, Trez. Thought this was a good performance, but it needs the easy E lines need to stop. So definitely didn't like that one. And then his last bar, if you was really like that where you was from, you wouldn't be chasing the block captain. Talk about chasing easy, good little flip, because John does talk a lot about easy, so addressed a lot of different topics, had some of his more creative punches, and had some good rebuttals to start. Really one of the more complete rounds from Chef, so he's up 1-0 with a good second, and he going to John second. I don't think it's a bad second whatsoever. Wasn't a fan of his first, but I do like his second. But he starts out with the off-top triple entendre, which was kind of a pause at that, talking about like, sucking T-Top's dick. It was a weird setup to it. I get where he was trying to go, but it's a couple times where he kind of took some content that was a little pause-worthy and tried to make a bar out of it, and I just don't think it was the time to go for that, especially not to open the round. But from there, he's the Jackson State Dion bar. I like that a lot. Sleepless nights, you're always going to have a bag under eye. Catering, I get the catering, Chef catering. So he hit some stuff here that I really like, man. The Jordan wasn't from Chicago, but he won there. Extremely good thing to touch on, especially with a lot of talk. John's not actually from Atlanta, and Chef Trez touching on that. I thought that was a pretty good piece of counter writing. And then the Simba, he is a Lion King. How he look in front of the kingdom. He's like Simba. How he look in front of the kingdom. Now I'm gonna hold you to that. So hits a good clip in there. So I see people saying that it gets to be a close round, but at that point, I didn't think that he had taken the round. And the last thing he has is the body language that I did not like. Never really liked the body language like that, and this one in particular didn't blow me away. So while it was a closer second, I still personally edged Chef Trez pretty comfy in the second round. And then we get into the third round, which is a huge drop-off. Not that the rest of the battle is crazy, but it's definitely good. And neither of their thirds are very good, if I had to be honest with you. Chef Trez in particular is easily his worst round of the battle. Once again, how most guys did here at this ending part of the card, he did have a pretty dry opening to his first, not landing heavy. And then he once again gets back into an angle about bullpen, this time about them falling off rather than his just strict relationship with growing the brand. And he worked it once again, as you could tell, I'm not quoting too much from it, so he didn't execute it like the others. This is one you could debate he kind of butchered up a little bit. And then from there, he gets into the ATL gave you a home when NY didn't. Decent, there's definitely more of a talk to him approach in this third, which is something that, Trez did a little bit of. Like, there's a little bit of angle punches throughout the first and the second. He's touching on topics, but when he gets into just a straight angle or real talk for the round, I don't think that's his strong suit. I think that goes to show in this third round. Another thing to mention, because he has one here, he is a bar about Muslim, the dawn is praying at dawn, and he had a few dawn flips talking about the time of day throughout the battle, and the reason you don't hear me mention them is because I really did not like any of them from first, second, and third. I'm ending dawn like 8 a.m. Just little stuff like that, man. There is good dawn flips to do, but I just don't think that these particular ones were it. And then he ends kind of on a dry spot. So Chef's third is extremely beatable. And I will say, John didn't just come and swipe the round, which is a little disappointing to me. I do have him winning the round, just going to say that now, but he starts out with the stake scheme. I actually thought that was pretty good. The Free Willy bar was cool. He does this like ATL history concept about where he was in ATL, what was going on, kind of showing his veteranship, which was a very smart move. Probably would have liked to see him do it a little bit earlier, but not mad at him doing it in the third round. In order to get to Chef, we got to wait around. He had a waiter Chef kind of flip, which I thought was good too. So not any real haymakers in this third, but he's just really jabbing at him consistently, and considering how beatable Trez's round is, it is enough. He has taking care of this kid was blow job, and man, that sucked. Why did you rap that? that wasn't the way. Like, those are those little pause-worthy bars where it's like, I see where you're going with it. Milltown blows job, but a blowjob bar is just too much of a risk to take, and I don't really think it paid off for him in the third. And then he ends off with the sous chef bar, cool, and a multiple choice that was, cool at best. So John's third doesn't blow me away, but I think he did work the ATL history concept. Probably, objectively worked it better than Trez worked his angles in the third. So even though it's not the flashiest round win, I do have John edging the third pretty comfortably, which brings my result from the battle down to Chef Trez 2-1, first and second. And that is, my full recap here for John and Chef Trez. Definitely more on the strictly bar for bar side. In terms of what actually happened in the battle, little things that I didn't mention while recapping. John definitely showed a little variety of flows. I don't think he was so all over the place that like he put on a masterclass, but I definitely think he showed a little bit more, which I know was like a talking point for him. Gave us a lot of shit in the executive suite because a couple people were saying that he doesn't rap as good as Trez, which me personally, when we were having that conversation, I definitely was talking more from a content standpoint. Words and battle rap get mixed up all the time. So if someone says he raps better, a lot of people are just going to take that as pure rapping ability, which I thought they were always close in. I will say that in terms of we were just going off of pure rapping ability, I think Chef Trez kind of stuck to his, one flow, which is something he's always usually does, while John showed a little bit of versatility. But the difference in content for me, especially when you look at like the second or first, I just think he had a few more creative lines. The strip of bloods like a diabetic, the Joker deuce. I thought both of those were just very the creative. The COD guns, you couldn't use those Call of Duty guns without active vision. I just preferred some of his wordplay, while John has, like I said, he doesn't have bad bars. The catering, it's solid. The Wingardium Leviosa, it's solid. The Anthony Bourdain, it's solid. But I can't act like I haven't heard, some of these types of flips on these particular topics before. And that doesn't automatically keep it at 0, but there's a lack of like standout haymakers. But I don't want to be too hard on John. Now, a lot of people are going to debate to just add to a losing streak, which I do think, he is on right now. But I do think he is knocking off the rust. He went away for a year. The man typically isn't just received good in Atlanta. I don't know why that is, but he's always kind of had a hard time in Atlanta, funny enough, even for all that he means to it. And even though this isn't just a full-on walloping by any means, it's closer on camera than I think a lot of people probably expected it to be, like I said, from what they heard in the building. But I still comfortably got Chef Trez in that first and second. I don't know if I'd fully say it's clear. I think that's more of something that the community has to decide by how close they think it is. But I did comfortably give him that first and second. But I am not going to be surprised when I see the arguments for Chef Trez got the first. I think that's clear. I don't think there's much to talk about there. John got the third, and then the second being debatable. So there's a little bit of talk there, but I do feel pretty comfortable with my Chef Trez pick. And where they go from here, I think that this was like a great. I don't know if Chef Trez continues this against other top tiers and continues making getting wins of that nature. I think there's the possibility that it could be lightning in the bottle with it being a grudge match in Atlanta, but at least he has that momentum to work off of, so you got to at least give him another opportunity or two and see if he can carry that momentum. Who knows, man? Maybe Chef Trez is a late bloomer and he hits top tier at the end. I'm not predicting it, but a win like this, that's how you at least try to build up the momentum to get a push. And as for John, I think there's still plates for him. Obviously, he wants Easy. What's going on with Easy, it's going to be a little hard to do right now, but I think John versus Fonz, for me, is a battle. Fonz has been calling out John. He's a more than respectable piece of talent. I think it will be a competitive battle going in, and just another battle, to sharpen John's skill set and knock the rust off a little bit. And definitely has the potential to win. I think he would be the underdog going in, and I think he deserves a little more respect than that, so it could be a good scenario where he could get a little expectation curve. I don't know, just an idea, man. Would love to see John and Fonz following this, but we'll see what's up for him on the schedule. But a solid battle overall, not too crazy. Say it's 7 out of 10, and for me, I had Chef Trez winning, but it's been J Small Reviews again, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know down below who did you personally have winning in this battle, and I'm going to catch you on the next one. Peace.